Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Tuesday night that finds us, well, still less than 24 hours removed from a national championship for the Florida Gators. What a run. What a game last night. Boy, got a lot of thoughts on it. No question about it. We'll certainly spend some time on the Gators, their third college basketball national championship. You realize now Florida is the only school with 3 or more football titles and 3 or more men's basketball titles. That is rarefied air for the Florida Gators as they are once again college basketball national champions. So we'll certainly spend a good amount of time on that. That's actually where we're going to start here in just a moment. Also, welcome back to work, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They reported today for their off-season conditioning program, their voluntary off-season conditioning program. Trevor Lawrence, Foye Oluokun, and Liam Cohen are set to meet the media tomorrow at the Miller Electric Center as we are underway with meetings and all that sort of stuff. OTAs will begin next month after the draft, which again is only 2 weeks from Thursday night. So we're going to get right back into the heart of the offseason. So welcome back, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars reporting back to work today. So we're going to spend a lot of time on basketball, a lot of time on the Jaguars. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. My buddy Mark Wise of ESPN will join us coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. Mark has been with me pretty much every week for the last 2 months through all the tournament play. We'll get one more recap of how Florida was able to do what no team in the last 20 years was able to do. Come back from 9 or more points in the second half in the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the title game, and win all 3 of them, which is exactly what they did. So Mark Wise of ESPN, about 15 minutes away. Also, my buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, as we'll look at this Jacksonville Jaguar football team. Trayvon Walker gets his 5th-year option picked up. Again, the Jaguars back to work today for the offseason program. So John Shipley joins us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. As always, Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us here on a Tuesday night on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
What a run. What a run. 36-4, SEC tournament champions, number 1 seed in the West region, and now national champions for the 3rd time, the University of Florida. What a run by Todd Golden, the players, the staff, everybody involved. A couple of things jump right out to me. There will be comparisons between this championship team and the back-to-back teams of almost 20 years ago. Let me tell you why I think this was a more enjoyable run. Maybe it's recency bias, but again, I think I'm on good standing here with my logic. You know, Noah, Horford, Brewer, Lee Humphrey, Torian Green, those great 05, 06, 06, 07 teams, particularly the 06, 07 team in the tournament, there was never nail biters, right? They pretty much had things under control. There was never a game that was in really any doubt in the final 2 minutes. Even the first year, the first title of that back-to-back run. Outside of the Georgetown game in the Sweet 16, again, not a lot of doubt, not a lot of games that came down to the wire. This Gator team not only had games come down to the wire, heck, they were losing with 3 minutes to go against UConn, against Texas Tech, against Auburn, and last night against Houston. They were losing 4 of these 6 tournament games with 3 minutes to go. And they found ways to win every one of them. It was nail-biting city. It was nerves. It was pacing back and forth. It was nuts watching these games for the University of Florida. But no matter the situation, no matter how bleak it looked, and it did look bleak, particularly against Texas Tech and again against Houston, they figured it out. They found a way to win these games. Unbelievably impressive. The best team in college basketball, the Florida Gators, your 2025 national champion. Because of the way it happened, the closeness of these games, pulling them out, coming from behind, to me, this 2025 national championship from that standpoint, maybe even a little more satisfying than the back-to-back runs. The first title in the back-to-back run was a surprise. The second title was a must. Otherwise, it would have been considered a disappointment, if not a failure. And plus, the Gators dominated a majority of those tournament games back then. This tournament run, they were a favorite, but their backs were against the wall against UConn, Texas Tech, Auburn, and Houston. And they won every single one of them, defying the odds, defying the analytics. And from that standpoint, to me, I think the 2025 national championship run for Florida was that much more enjoyable than even the great Gator teams of the back-to-back years, 05, 06, 06, 07. As far as Todd Golden goes, I mean, what do you say about Todd Golden? The guy did not have any NCAA tournament wins 3 weeks ago. He's now got 6. He's got wins over Dan Hurley, Bruce Pearl. You look at what he did against all these coaches. Why am I drawing a complete Calvin Sampson? I know Denmark, it's been a long day. Why am I drawing a complete blank? Pearl, Sampson, Hurley. 3 guys that are coaching royalty, will be in the Hall of Fame of college coaches. That's who Todd Golden had to go through in his first NCAA tournament, his first deep run into the NCAA tournament. He was 0-2 as a coach in tournament games coming into this run. He's now 6-2 with a national championship. Unbelievably impressive. As far as Walter Clayton goes, look, 1010XL, we did a thing on social media. Does Walter Clayton belong on the Mount Rushmore of Gator basketball? This was 2 weeks ago. And I said at that time, talk to me in 2 weeks. I still was of the opinion Horford, Noah, Brewer. You could have a conversation about Mike Miller, Udonis Haslem, if you want to go back in the memory banks, Vernon Maxwell, Neil Walk. But I said if Clayton leads them to a national championship, it would be a different conversation. Well, today is the day to have that different conversation. And I now believe Walter Clayton not only is on the Mount Rushmore, I believe he's probably the best Gator basketball player they've ever had on campus. When you talk about Horford, Noah, and Brewer, they all kind of were together. They were linked in. When you say Al Horford during his Gator time, you think of Noah and Brewer. When you think of Noah, you also mention Brewer and Horford, and likewise Brewer, the same thing. Those 3 are forever linked. Mike Miller and Udonis Haslem never won a title. Walter Clayton, the clear leader of this team, did something that Larry Bird and Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain only have done, 30-plus point games in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. Struggled a little bit last night, but even so, scored 11 points in the second half, dished out 7 assists, and had the defensive play of the game to help Florida win their 3rd national championship. I think Walter Clayton is the best Gator basketball player they've ever had at the University of Florida. And I have absolutely no trepidation in saying that. He is sensational. As far as the future of Gator basketball, my response has been all day. I was asked this on the Gator Bites podcast. We talked about it on the Frangie show. I'll mention it again right here. Who cares? Who cares? Is Condon coming back? Is this guy coming back? You just capped off maybe the greatest tournament run in your program's history. You shouldn't even think about next year for a good month or two. Who cares? Soak it all up. Enjoy this national championship. And I'll tell you this. You want to talk about the blue bloods of college basketball? The royalty of college basketball? Kentucky, UCLA, Duke, Kansas, North Carolina. We know all the names, right? Well, there's 363 Division I college basketball programs. Florida is now tied for 8th with 3 national titles, tying Villanova. Florida is 2nd in the SEC with national championships, trailing only Kentucky. I don't know if they're a, quote, blue blood. I don't know if they have the tradition, the heritage of some of those other schools I mentioned. But if there's a side door, if there's an emergency exit into getting into the blue blood dome, well, Florida's right there on the on-ramp, are they not? Not 1, not 2, but 3 national championships in the last 18 years. 19 years. 3 in the last 2 decades. Man, it was an amazing run. And look, Old Takes Exposed got me last night. I know a lot of people had fun with that on social media. Yeah, I had questions about Todd Golden in January of 2024, 15 months ago. You're darn right I did. Florida did not go to the tournament year 1. Florida was a middle-of-the-pack SEC team in late January of 24. And on that night, I believe it was January 27th, 2024, I said Mike White was not the answer at Florida, and it doesn't appear that Todd Golden is either. And I meant that at that time. I have no reservations about tweeting that 15 months ago. Old Takes Exposed wants to expose me 15 months later. Fine, I could care less. I appreciate the recognition that I meant that much to you to do that last night. Todd Golden certainly turned things around in the last 15 months. I will definitely give him that. I thought it was over at 42-30. I thought it was done. Just like I thought it was over when Texas Tech was up 9 with 3 minutes to go. But this is the most resilient Florida team that they've ever had. To come back against UConn, Texas Tech, Auburn, and Houston in the fashion that they did, you might never see that again from a Gator basketball team. That will live in the history books. I hope you soaked it all in. Hell, I hope you're still soaking it in. Because it was amazing to watch. Tip your cap, Gator Nation. You, for the 3rd time in less than 2 decades, are national champions of college basketball. Mark Wise of ESPN has been kind enough to join us pretty much every week for the last 2 months. How did he see the national title game last night? How does he see Todd Golden? And what will Todd Golden's victory in a national title do for other programs and other coaches now in the SEC? Does it turn the pressure up on Rick Barnes, on Nate Oates, on Bruce Pearl, and others? That's all coming up next. Mark Wise of ESPN joins us on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida, Hacker After Dark, right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
They got on their horses. They rode all over the town, shooting their pistolas up in the air.
They are the drill.
And they called us scum-sucking pigs.
Mornings
Us!
on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. There was a time when if you handed me a bread basket at a restaurant, you better watch your fingers. Pizza, pasta, bread. Carbs were absolutely my weakness. I'd be lying if I said they didn't have me hooked. Then Awaken 180 came into my life. I've been down every diet road there is, but this is different. It's not just another diet. It's a total reset of how you see food. You know that carb craving that we all accepted as normal? That's gone for me now. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy the good stuff, but here's the difference. I no longer feel like I need them. So when the server puts that bread basket on the table, I just smile, sit back, and say, nah, I'm good. That feeling of control is all thanks to Awaken 180. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180. Hacker lost more than 110. Baloo is on his way, and you can lose whatever you want to lose. It doesn't matter what your goal weight is. Awaken 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely. It's a clear path to success without disappointment. Awaken 180 has changed my life, and it will change yours too. Give them a call at 844-346-1800 or go to awaken180weightloss.com. Trust me, you'll thank yourself.
Baloo here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Enjoy a great day of golf and support Eagles View Academy Athletics. Friday, May 2nd at the newly renovated Bent Creek Golf Course. 8:30 shotgun start, best ball format. Find out more at evawarriorsathletics.com.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight, but it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Cooking with Crisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rollie.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. 24 hours ago, the Florida Gators capped off an unbelievable run in the NCAA tournament with their third national championship. Todd Golden becomes the first or the youngest basketball coach to win a title, dating back to Jim Valvano back in 1983. What a year it was. Let's talk about all of it with a guy that's joined us every week during the tournament, my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN, and we'll spend one more evening here with Mark tonight on 1010XL. Mark, how we doing?
Hacker, man, I'm sad that the season is over, but what a Final Four. As I talked to you last week, who needs Cinderella? The Final Four was, I mean, again, it's played at such a high level. The three games as a group, has there ever been a better three-game set from the Final Four? Well, you'd be hard-pressed to find one.
I believe all three games in San Antonio, the team that was winning at the last media timeout, the under 4 timeout in the second half, all of those teams lost, which is absolutely wild to think about. You know, Mark, look, the third national championship, you obviously had a front row seat for titles 1 and 2. Back in the 04s and the back-to-back team, those were fun. Those were dominating performances. I think there was 12 tourney games, like 9 or 10 were never really in doubt with 5 minutes to go. Right. There were a couple of nail-biters, including Georgetown the first year. This team, Mark, was trailing or up by 2 in 5 of the 6 tourney games, and they were trailing by double digits or 9 or more points in the last 3 games. And to come back and win all of them, I just think makes this one so much sweeter.
Well, certainly, I think a lot of credit goes both to the staff and to the players. I mean, I know Todd Golden has used the word resilient, but teams that are resilient have a marriage of being resilient between staff and players. You can't be a resilient team if it's just the players or just the coaches. So both of them kind of stood the course, if you will, and stayed the course, trusted the process. Now, as I've always said, you've got to catch some breaks along the way, and Florida caught a break with Texas Tech in that game with the missed free throws. And again, last night in the championship game, they don't score a field. I think their last 5 points were all free throws, right? So, I thought the difference in the game was Florida's defensive on the perimeter in the last 10 minutes of the game kind of choked off Houston's offensive flow. And with that being said, I think Florida won the game beating Houston.
It certainly was a Houston-type game. There's no doubt about that, which takes me to the final play. And look, Walter Clayton, for his standards, had struggled offensively. Now, he got other guys involved, and he hit the huge three to tie the game at 60. But Walter Clayton makes an amazing defensive effort, causes essentially what was the end of the game, the turnover that would have been. It ran the clock out. I mean, what can you say from the effort of Walter Clayton on that defensive series?
Well, let's go back to the beginning of that play because it was a three-pronged attack. I know Kelvin Sampson at Houston is getting a lot of flack for what they ran at the end. I didn't have any trouble with what they ran. I didn't like their guys being so high. It kind of jammed up the traffic, if you will. But they, first of all, tried to get a screen on the sideline for Uzan, allowing him to maybe drive to the rim and see what develops. Hauk steps out, denies that. Then it was a little throwback for a rescreen, if you will, for Cryer. But Will Richard was there plenty of time to choke that off. So there were a couple of really good parts of that defensive possession before you get to the Clayton challenge. Now, what's funny about that, if you go back and look at it, Clayton kind of relaxes on the play just a little bit when the ball's away from him, and then realizes, I better get out here. So, and he deserves the credit because it was a fabulous challenge, but we're just a tiny bit later, Sharp gets that three off.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Florida gets the defensive stop, wins the national title.
And Houston was going for the win. Again, Florida was only up 2. It was a great play by Clayton, but you're right. It looked like Houston was going for the victory. Mark Wise of ESPN with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. The Florida Gators are your college basketball national champions. Mark, you mentioned Will Richard, and boy, wasn't it poetic last night? The first recruit that Todd Golden brought to Gainesville keeps Florida's head above water in the first half. Without Will Richard, they would not have had an opportunity to do what they did in the second half.
Yeah, no question about it. And he was making the difficult threes that Clayton had been making the entire tournament. I don't think maybe one of his makes was a pretty clean look. Another thing I wanted to talk about is how good was Florida in their ATO action with their after timeouts. You got to remember that Clayton's first basket of the game came after a timeout where they run that little horn set, and it's a banana cut where Clayton goes around the guy with the ball all the way to the rim. And I think Handlogan was the one who found him, and that led to the three-point play. And then the only clean look Clayton got the entire game was, again, after a timeout. Little Davidson action is what I like to call it. 3 guys going in 3 different directions at the same time. A rescreen by Richard that freed up Clayton. I just thought that Todd Golden and his staff made all the right moves in that game down the stretch last night.
Yeah, that made it. It was 60-57, and Clayton with that 3 tied the game at 60. It was an absolutely enormous play. And talk about Todd Golden. We talk about the youngest coach since Valvano at only 39 years of age. I mean, Mark, let's think about the coaches he went up against in the last 2 games. Hall of Famers and Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson, and to have a team that beat one of his mentors in Bruce Pearl and a legend in Kelvin Sampson, again, that just adds to what Todd Golden was able to do. By the way, Todd Golden now 6 NCAA tournament wins. He didn't have any 3 weeks ago. He's got all 6 in a national championship in the last 3 weeks.
But Hacker, isn't that the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament? Because this time last year we were talking, and I think you were bemoaning how poor Florida was defensively, and I was right there with you in that game against Colorado. I just think it shows from one year to the next that what I have been trying to preach all along is that unless you're a 1 or 2 seed, winning one game in the NCAA tournament is really difficult. Making it to the second weekend is more difficult. Getting to the Final Four is even more difficult than that. And to win twice at the Final Four to cut down the nets. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that this particular team and Todd Golden now, they just wrote their story into basketball immortality.
It was a great run. And again, I know we talked about it briefly, but if you could expand on it quickly here, the fact that they were down 10 to Texas Tech, 9 to Auburn, 12 last night to Houston. By the way, all of those, Mark, were in the second half. They're the first team in 20 years to trail the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the title game by at least 9 or more in the second half. And to come back and win all of those games is absolutely incredible.
And it tells me that old is still winning. That's what it tells me. Older players tend not to panic, tend to be a little bit more level-headed. Having somebody like a Walter Clayton who is so even-keeled, who didn't have a good offensive night until late, but he did have 7 assists in the game. I thought, how about this? I was on earlier on Monday, and I was talking about, I thought the key to the game was differentials, and I used 2 differentials, the 3-point line differential and second chance points differential. Add those up, and whoever could win that would win the game. Well, the 3-point differential was even, and on second chance points, Florida actually had more than Houston, 11-10, a close 1 point in terms of my theory, and a close 2-point game as an outcome. I thought it was a great game, and Florida played well enough to kind of hang around and play their best offense late in the game.
Final moments, Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, I don't know what verbiage you want to use, blue blood, that seems to be the common term today. But Florida, there's 363 Division I college basketball programs. Florida's now tied for 8th in national titles with 3. They got the second most in the conference, only trailing Kentucky. It's a football school, and there's no arguing that, but holy moly, man. I mean, this basketball team now with their 3rd national title, are they, or should they be considered among the blue bloods, if you will, in college hoops?
Well, I again, when you talk about, or if you want to define who is a blue blood, I think it takes in a lot more than just winning. So I don't think Florida is a blue blood in terms of traditional blue blood sense. But if there's a door to get in the blue blood room, I think the Gators are knocking right on it. I would like to see, here's what I would like to see to help them find a blue blood program. I would like to see people sell out the O-Dome in November and December. I'd like to see Florida's TV ratings match those of Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, blah, blah, blah. Once that happens, then you're no longer knocking on the door of being a blue blood. You are a true blue blood.
Mark, we have no way to know what the roster is going to look like. Obviously, there's portal issues and draft issues. We know the backcourt's gone, right? Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, Will Richard, and I'll certainly talk to you about those guys as we get closer to the NBA draft. But if we assume that the front court comes back, and I think it's...
And they might all come back.
They might all come back. Yeah, Chinyelu, Condon, Houck, Hanlockton. We'll see about Sam Alexis. Aberdeen should be back. Or Klopsar should be back. We'll see about Isaiah Brown, the freshman that they really like. And they'll add some more pieces. I mean, they're not going to be what they were this year. But Florida could be pretty good again next year, correct?
I don't think there's any question about it. Now, they'll have to go portaling for backcourt help. There's no question. They're going to need a scorer in the backcourt. They're going to need some size to replace in the backcourt. I mean, I don't know how you can replace both the experience and the talent of those 3 guys in the backcourt. But here's the good news. If they all come back in the front court, then they don't have to worry about that. They've already got plenty of depth, plenty of firepower with the 5 bigs that they already have. So I think they're in a little bit of a better situation than some, because you're only talking about replacing one part of your roster, not all parts of your roster, like a lot of teams are having to do. So it'll be interesting. I didn't think anybody could replace Dalton Connect, Tennessee, and yet Chaz Lanier filled that role beautifully. So I'll be surprised, but you know what? There's somebody out there that will be the next Will Richard or the next Elijah Martin. Florida will have to get in that game, get in the portal, and see who they can come up with.
Mark, final question. You just mentioned Tennessee. You know, whether it's Rick Barnes this morning, whether it's Nate Oates, whether it's obviously Bruce Pearl, they got to be shaking their head, right? I mean, they've been at their programs longer. Todd Golden's kind of the new kid on the block, and he wins a title.
Yeah.
Does this up the ante? Is this up the pressure on some of these other guys in the conference?
I don't think so. I think there's a better understanding of how fickle the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament. And I'm for one, don't judge coaches solely on their performance at the Final Four. So when you've got a team that's consistently in the upper tier of your conference, consistently playing in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, like a Tennessee, like a Houston, I don't worry about the rest. I think that's in fandom, and I think that's going down the wrong path. I'd much rather talk about us going to quarters and correcting the officiating problem that we have in our game.
Do you think quarters? I mean, there's been some talk about that. College basketball is like the only sport that does 2 20-minute halves. Do you think quarters is in the future?
I do. I do think it's coming once we get rid of all the older guys like me and their thinking. I think quarters are coming. I think people are underestimating. I said 10 years ago, if you're listening to this right now and you don't believe anything else I say, believe this. I said 10 years ago we had a transfer problem, and look where we are today. I'm telling you right now we have an officiating problem.
Yeah.
Our problem is not the officials. You need to understand the difference. Our problem is not the officials, it's officiating. And so the only way, everybody agrees that our game is way too physical, me included. But the only way that I know we can get less physicality in the game, because when you talk about a team and you say they're physical, what is that code for? It means they foul a lot.
Right.
So the only way you're going to clean up our game a little bit is to call more fouls. But guess who does not want more fouls? The coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So unless they're willing to come around to that, you're going to see more and more of this. Now, our game is also more physical because our game has been older. It'll be interesting to see once we get out of this COVID redo that then now we're out of it. Our game should get a little bit younger next year.
Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, is it vacation time for you now that the season's over?
No, I've got a couple of more things in the hopper here for about another week. And then, yes, my friend, I will turn my page. And I'm not one of those guys that says I can't watch the NBA. I can watch the NBA every night. I just don't have the time to do it. Well, I think the NBA season ends like next Sunday, and the playoffs start next Tuesday.
And then the 3-month playoff will begin.
Yes,
Right.
well, there is that. Yes, and then it'll be the middle of football season, and then it'll be the beginning of basketball practice. So you're right about that.
It'll be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the NBA playoff.
It'll be here before we know it. Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, thank you so much for joining us for the last month plus. We'll dial your phone again right before the NBA draft, and we'll start previewing maybe how Walter Clayton is going to fare at the next level. Appreciate you, my friend.
All right, thanks for having me on all season.
Florida Gators.
Congratulations, Gators!
Saluting right over left. This is the flagship station of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Plumbing problem? AC not blowing cool? Septic tank backing up? No need to call 3 different companies. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. At Duck Duck Rooter, we do it all. Plumbing, septic, and air conditioning with expert technicians in each department. One company, one call, one easy bill. No hassle, no runaround, just fast professional service from highly skilled techs who know their stuff. Need help? Call 904-862-6769 today and let Duck Duck Rooter handle it all. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, child care leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal opportunity employer.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers, and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills, and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
Get to know positions and players. The 1010XL Ultimate Draft Guide is brought to you by Blue Haven Pools, the #1 pool builder in Jacksonville. Follow rankings and roundtables as the draft takes shape. Go to 1010XL.com/2025 draft guide to get yours.
It's heating up at Ride Now Jacksonville. Get water adventure ready with the 2024 Yamaha AR195 boat. With its supercharged engine, innovative design, and water sports features, the Yamaha AR195 is ready for anything you throw at it. Originally $46,000, now just $36,000. Oversized in-floor storage for wakeboards and extra gear. Deck and hull design that maximizes space, comfort, and versatility like no other 19-foot boat. Ride Now Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. We'll meet or beat any price on all 2024 and prior models.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Visit sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. With you till 10 o'clock tonight, as we are every night. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. I will tell you, Florida State baseball going on right now. I believe this is the final game of the year for these two. Boy, Florida baseball, yuck. What are they, 1-11 in SEC play? It has been down times for the Gator baseball team, but They are up 5-2 right now on Florida State in the top of the 6th. We'll keep you updated. You got to start somewhere to work your way back up if you're the Gators and Kevin O'Sullivan. And a win over your arch rival would certainly help here in early to mid-April. Again, Florida 5, Florida State 2, top of the 6th. We will keep you updated. The Jacksonville Jaguars return to work today for the offseason program. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, joins us coming up in less than 15 minutes. So every year when the offseason program begins, I like to take stock of the offseason that has been. And are the Jaguars better now than they were when the season ended? So let's rewind the clock back 93 days. That's when the Jaguars season ended in Indianapolis, losing to the Colts 93 days ago. Doug Peterson was the head coach. Trent Baalke was the general manager. Well, doesn't it seem like a lot has transpired in 93 days? Certainly does to me. So we'll take stock of where we are. Doug Peterson gone. Trent Baalke gone. Liam Cohen is your brand new head coach. James Gladstone, your brand new general manager. And Tony Baselli, your brand new EVP of football operations. New coaching staff, Anthony Campanile is your defensive coordinator. Grant Yadinsky, your offensive coordinator. So they're alone. The coordinators, the GM, the head coach, and you add Baselli into the mix as well. That in and of itself, to me, signifies that the Jaguars are better. All due respect to Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach. I think he had basically checked out mentally for the last month plus here in Jacksonville. And I think the game had started passing him by because the offensive game plan for the Jaguars was putrid. So, yeah, I will take Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, Tony Baselli, Grant Yadinsky, Anthony Campanile over what the Jaguars had here 93 days ago. Now to the personnel, and this is one where I don't know if they're better. I think we'd all like to think that they're better, but at the end of the day, even though they were hurt, they were on the roster, they being Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. And the fact that Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk were here 93 days ago and they are not here as the team reports for offseason conditioning, that's a tough one to say the roster is better. Now, there are certain aspects of it that are better. I believe they're better on the offensive line. When you add Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, Fred Johnson, Chuma Idogba, those four guys, obviously you still have Walker Little, Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland, the departures of Brandon Sheriff and Mitch Morse. I think as a whole, the offensive line is better now than it was 3 months ago. Secondary? Well, Ronald Darby was bad last year. You bring in Jordan Lewis. Andre Sisco was bad last year. You bring in Eric Murray. At worst, it's a push. I would argue the secondary's better. Doesn't have the sexy names that we all knew, like Andre Sisco, Ronald Darby from his Florida State ties. But Jordan Lewis, to me, was a better football player last year than Ronald Darby. Eric Murray was a better football player last year than Andre Sisco. So from that standpoint, I'd also say the secondary is better. You can't say the tight end room's better. You don't have Evan Ingram any longer. Wide receiver, again, you don't have Christian Kirk. And because you don't have Christian Kirk, I find it hard to believe you can say the wide receiver room is better. It's interesting with De'Ami Brown. I'll give you that. I'm intrigued by De'Ami Brown. No question about it. But I don't know if you can say it's better. So when you look at all the moves that have transpired over the last 3 months, I don't think they're any worse. How can you be worse? You were 4-13 and picking in the top 5. I do wonder how much better they are. I think it's relative. I think there's a lot of work to do. I don't expect Jacksonville to be heading to the Super Bowl in 2025. But as we've talked about, man, this division is hot garbage. Awful. The Titans aren't any good. The Texans, I think, have had the worst offseason in the NFL. The Colts have a full-blown quarterback controversy on their hands. So when you look at the division as a whole, even though I don't think Jacksonville would classify as a good team, at least right now, are they good enough to compete in a bad division? Yeah, I think they probably are. I think they are probably good enough to compete in a lackluster division. Trayvon Walker yesterday gets his fifth-year option picked up. Absolutely. There was no doubt that that was going to happen. I hope an extension happens in the next month or so. I don't understand. Well, I take that back. I do understand it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the Trayvon Walker distaste outside of Jacksonville. There are some people, even in my line of work, radio hosts, podcasters, etc., outside of Jacksonville, that baffle me with how little knowledge they have on Trayvon Walker. They think he's a bust because his name isn't Aiden Hutchinson. Is he as good as Aiden Hutchinson? No, I'll grant you that. But Trayvon Walker's a good football player. You don't have back-to-back double-digit sack seasons unless you're a good football player. Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon will forever be linked, and Aiden Hutchinson's had a better career to this point, but that does not make Trayvon Walker a bust. Far from it. And for people outside of Jacksonville, again, in my line of work, which is surprising to me, that have this narrative that Trayvon's not any good, they are poorly informed or lazy, one of the two. Absolutely, you pick up the fifth-year option on him. And I hope, like I said, there's a re-signing to lock him down long-term sooner rather than later. The question is, do you pick up the fifth-year option on Devin Lloyd? Taken in the same draft as Trayvon Walker? I would tend to doubt that one. I would tend to doubt they're going to pick up the option on Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd, to me, is going to be fascinating this year. Because last year in Green Bay, Quay Walker, the former Bulldog, and even Edge Cooper, two linebackers in Green Bay that were thought to be busts or certainly not as good as where they were drafted, kind of had a resurgence under Anthony Campanile, who was the linebacker coach in Green Bay. Now, Campanile is the defensive coordinator here in Jacksonville, but at heart, he's a linebackers coach. And I wonder if he can have the same effect on Lloyd here in Jacksonville the way he had that effect on Walker and Cooper in Green Bay. Big year for Devin Lloyd, no doubt about that. Whether it's here or somewhere else, his career is obviously going to continue, but going into a potential free agency, just like Andre Cisco last year, Cisco dropped the ball. Cisco was in this exact same situation. He wasn't extended. He didn't have a fifth-year option because he was a third-rounder. But in a contract year, Andre Cisco was bad. He was bad last year. Devin Lloyd going into his contract year, if that option isn't picked up, can he perform better than Andre Cisco and give the Jaguars a reason to keep him? Andre Cisco did not give the Jaguars a reason to keep him. Can Devin Lloyd do that for himself? Again, you look at that linebacker room, Foye Oluokun, Ventrell Miller, Chad Muma, and Devin Lloyd. Those appear to be your top four. We'll see what they do in the draft coming up here 2 weeks, beginning 2 weeks from Thursday night. Again, the Jaguars back in for offseason conditioning. Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, and Foye Oluokun will meet the media tomorrow. We will bring you those thoughts here tomorrow evening on Hacker After Dark. Coming up next, my buddy John Shipley. Jaguars on SI. Let's talk off season. Let's look ahead to the draft. Let's talk Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, and more John Shipley does a terrific job covering the Jaguars for the Jaguars on SI, and he joins us next on a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're at halftime, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock, as we do every evening right here. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
He knows where the bodies are buried.
We've been approached already by the DOD, the FBI, the CIA.
We're a separate division. Bleacher Report college football insider Matt Hayes. I don't want to talk about it. Noon to 3 weekdays on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators, and Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach, WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Buying a home used to feel like a complete headache. Listings here, pre-approval there, financing somewhere else. Now, Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com. A single, seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things homeownership. Rocket. Own the dream.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just a job, but an experience, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
Looking for comfort with who you work with? Remember, Florida Home AC only hires the best. Background checks and drug screenings for all their technicians, so you can be confident when you choose Florida Home AC. Exceptional service is their guarantee at Florida Home AC.
What does it mean when someone says the continental United States?
It's always a good idea to compare homeowners insurance rates when it's time to renew. Before storm season, log on to southernoak.com and get an instant quote or find an agent in your area.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The continental United States refers to all United States in North America. Hawaii is in the southern hemisphere.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out. You need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house. because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Yo, it's your main man E.T. here, and it's time to make those summer break plans. Clay County is calling. From paddleboarding on Doctors Lake to reeling in the big one on Black Creek or cruising the St. Johns River. There's no better place to dive into warm weather fun. Enjoy live music, local festivals, food trucks, and fireworks lighting up the night. Discover scenic parks, hidden trails, and must-visit local gyms. Your summer adventures start here. Visit exploreclay.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. You know, we've been so caught up in the Gator National Championship run in college basketball that you look on the calendar and the Jacksonville Jaguars are now back to work. The off-season program under first-year head coach Liam Cohen has begun. Of course, the NFL draft only 2 weeks away. Let's talk about all of it with my buddy John Shipley. Jaguars on SI is where you find his terrific coverage, and John's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, John, we're good. Appreciate the time. And you and I haven't spoke really since before free agency, so we got a lot to dive into. But first and foremost, recently Trayvon Walker gets his fifth-year option picked up. No real surprise there. Your reaction to that, John, and why do you think that Trayvon might get such a bad rap nationally? I'm blown away at some people's opinions on him that, I to be honest with you, I kind of respect some people that just have a very low opinion of him, and it shocks me what they think of Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, I thought it was the obvious move all along to pick up the option, because what the option really does is it gives you time. You know, they don't have to enter this season now thinking, okay, we have to pay Trayvon by, you know, the franchise tag deadline, or we have to give him the franchise tag. That would give him a very condensed timeline to make a decision. Now, you have at the very least 2 more seasons. You can let him play if you need to sell yourself on him as the guy to give a long-term deal to. I don't believe they feel like they need to, but at the very least, this just gives them more time with him under contract to where they can get that extension done, and nobody on either side feels like there's a deadline coming down anytime soon. Like now, the deadline's pushed all the way, you know, into the 2026 area. They can still do it sooner than that, but they're not forced to. I thought it was interesting. They were the first team to pick up anybody's option from that draft class so far. There's a few guys who have been released, etc., who can't have their options picked up, so it's not exactly out of 32 players, but it's around, you know, 30, and they were the first team to go ahead and make their declaration that we want this guy to stick around. So it's very clear, especially from Liam Cohen's comments at the owners' meeting as well, that the Jaguars see Trayvon Walker as a big piece of the future moving forward. That's why that ludicrous, and I do mean absolutely ludicrous report from whoever it was a couple weeks ago that, you know, saying the Jaguars maybe weren't shopping, but were taking phone calls on him. You can probably say that about 95% of the players in the NFL, that teams are interested or making phone calls. Teams, I remember in the 2022 season, made phone calls about Josh Hines-Allen before the trade deadline. It's just what happens in the NFL. Just because other teams are inquiring means absolutely diddly, and that's what that story was. It was a nothing burger and nothing less or nothing more than that. Now, with that said, the reason why I think some people are down on Trayvon, and I do think inside the NFL, you know, coaches, executives, etc., are higher on Trayvon than, you know, say most fans or national analysts, stuff like that. But I think there are two things. one that's unfair, and one that I think is actually a fair argument that Jaguars fans normally don't take very well. The first thing that's unfair is comparing him to Aiden Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely going to stick with Walker for the rest of his career, and that's not fair to him. It's obviously, you can have two players selected there go on to have successful careers. Just because Walker might not be the exact dynamite of a pass rusher Aiden Hutchinson is, doesn't mean it was a bad pick, because he obviously offers you other things. He's been more durable than Hutchinson. He's better in the run game. Now, I'm not going to be, ignorant. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a better pass rusher. All the numbers say that, etc. But it wasn't a bad pick by the Jaguars by any measure. But because he's not Aiden Hutchinson, and because people at the time of that draft already made up their minds that he was not going to be a good pick, he gets unfairly criticized for that. I don't think it makes any logical sense. I don't think there's any good arguments, but that's what it is. The second part of it, which I actually do think is a fair argument to make, and something I think the Jaguars need to examine, but I know fans hate it when the argument is brought up, is he has had obviously back-to-back very successful seasons in terms of sacks, double-digit sacks back-to-back. First Jaguar to do that. I think it's him and Calais Campbell.
Yeah, I think Campbell's the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're the only two in franchise history. So obviously that means something. But one thing that I've believed covering this league since, coming in 2019, I've really changed my thought on this, is that as a pass rusher, I firmly believe pressures and getting pressure consistently is more, I would say, stable than sacks year to year. But you can see some guys have low pressure numbers or rack up high sack totals one year, and then the next year they come back down to earth. That didn't happen for Trayvon this past year, but he's definitely somebody who, in terms of his pressure numbers, his win rate, his pressure rate, etc., he has never thrived there in the NFL in his career. I don't think he's been ranked in the top 25 in that in any of his 3 seasons. He was toward the very bottom in his rookie year, got a little better in 2023, but his sacks went way up while his pressure rate didn't. And then last year was obviously his best year, but it's a very real fact that from a pure pressure rate, he's not a Josh Hines Allen, etc., who is pretty much elite every single year in terms of getting pressure. Now, he does get sacks, and you have to weigh that. But I do think it's a legitimate argument to make that should you extend this guy who hasn't proven that he's an elite pressure guy yet, I'd still obviously extend him because all that he offers, he's 24, he's getting better every year. But I do think that's part of it. Some of the guys who just look at the numbers are going to be down on him. I think a lot of people will see his sacks and not be as impressed as I'd say most fans would be, if that makes sense.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Quickly, John, in that same draft class, Devin Lloyd was also a first-round pick, meaning his option is also available to be picked up. What do you think that means for Devin Lloyd moving forward?
Yeah, it's obviously interesting that they picked up one fifth-year option and then didn't pick up the other one. They still have, I believe it's until the first week of May to pick it up. So just because they didn't pick it up now doesn't mean they won't. Personally, and I'm not saying this as like I've heard this, it's a source report or anything like this, this is just my gut answer. I don't think they will pick up Devin Lloyd's fifth-year option just because, the fifth-year option, number for linebackers is just dramatically high. And it would obviously, I think Trayvon Walker right now, his fifth-year option is almost $15 million a year. Devin Lloyd's would be, just around $14 million a year. So it'd be a big jump for Devin Lloyd. I think, like with Trayvon, you probably don't need to see any more from him to feel comfortable in wanting to make a long-term deal happen, whatever that looks like. I think Devin Lloyd, you probably need to see a little bit more, especially with a new coaching staff. So I personally don't expect him to get the fifth-year option picked up. That doesn't mean that he won't be around after the season. It just means to me that he's somebody who he'll have to kind of earn that long-term role, long-term contract, and there hasn't necessarily been enough for them to say, okay, we're comfortable with him making $14 million next year and being one of the 6 or 7 highest paid linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, you hope Anthony Campanile can kind of work his magic on Devin Lloyd like he did with a couple of guys in Green Bay last year and maybe turn Devin's career around a little bit. John, 2 weeks until the NFL draft. If we're under the assumption that Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are both gone before the Jaguars pick, are you a Mason Graham guy? Do you buy all the smoke of all the mock drafts that link him to Jacksonville?
I do like Mason Graham. I think in a better draft class, do I think he's a top 5 pick? Maybe not necessarily, but you have to grade each draft class with how it is. I think the 4 best players in this draft class are Travis Hunter at number 1, far and away. I think I know the term's used too much, but I do believe he's a generational prospect. I mean, how many guys could be legitimate top 3 picks at 2 different positions? And then I'd have Abdul Carter right behind them, and then Mason Graham and Will Campbell, I think, at 3 and 4 in whatever order you want to put it in. If the top 5 goes how I expect, which is I think Ward's the first pick, and then I think Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter at 2 and 3, and then Will Campbell at number 4. I think Mason Graham, out of your available options, is far and away the best one. He has a lot of production. I know he doesn't have the sack numbers, but he has a lot of pressure numbers. He plays at a bigger size than he obviously weighed in at the combine. To me, there's a lot of green flags with his, draft profile. The only real red flag to me is that we don't know exactly how good of an athlete he is because he didn't test. Normally, I'd be wary about taking a guy that high without any athletic testing. But that just seems like that's what's happening this year. And honestly, in years moving forward, that a lot of guys are just straight up skipping testing. Like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter aren't testing either. We know these guys are good athletes, but you want to be able to quantify it in some sense. But I do think if the top 4 goes how I expect, I think he's the only really logical pick. I don't think you can make any argument to take a tight end, even how good Tyler Warren is at number 5. I don't think you can take a number 2 receiver at number 5. The Missouri offensive lineman is a really good player, but I'd probably have Mason Graham above him. It seems like Will Johnson's stock is just kind of tanked. To me, it's Graham or trade down. I'm not sure what the other options would be. What would be interesting to me is if Campbell's there at number 5. Mm-hmm. That would be a tough decision for me, and a decision that I'm happy I'm not the one that has to make it.
Final moments, John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. You basically answered this question. I'll ask it anyway. Does Jalen Walker do anything for you?
Now, Jalen Walker, I'm probably going to be a little more down on him to a sense compared to most people. I think he's one of those players who, if he goes to a scheme, if he got drafted, he won't get drafted by them, obviously, because they're picking too low. But say he went to the Washington Commanders with Dan Quinn, who has proven with Micah Parsons, with Frankie Luva, that he can make these kind of tweener linebacker edge guys work and have production. I think he'd be fantastic. Now, if he went to, you remember when the Arizona Cardinals were taking all these tweeners and Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, and none of them ever worked out. Hassan Reddick wasn't even that good until he left there. If he went to a team that wouldn't be able to deploy him correctly, if he went to, I can't even think right now of what kind of team that necessarily would be, but if you went to a team that didn't have a forward-thinking defensive coordinator, I'm not sure how much you'll get out of him. I'm just very wary of the linebacker edge tweeners. I know a lot of people thought Devin Lloyd was one of them, and he obviously, Jalen Walker is much more of an edge rusher than Devin Lloyd ever was. But just another example. I personally, I think Camp's going to be a good coach, but I'm not sure how he would use a guy like Jalen Walker. And at number 5, there are just too many questions position-wise for me to be comfortable with a guy like Jalen Walker. Now, I think he's a stick of dynamite on the field. He's violent. He's instinctual. He's explosive. He seems like there's nobody will say a crossword about him off the field. Seems like a great kid. It's just I personally, one of my evaluation things is I struggle with those tweener types, especially at the top end of the draft. And I say that as somebody who I thought in 2020, Isaiah Simmons, that's the guy the Jaguars need to get. And then he ends up being a complete bust because, when you're okay at 2 positions, well, eventually you need to be great at 1. And that's what I think we still need to see from Walker.
Yeah, I want to say Simmons is still a free agent right now. I think he's just sitting out there. I don't think he's actually on a team. He went to the Giants and things really didn't work out there. So we'll certainly see. But no, I agree. I think Jalen Walker has potential, but it just depends on where he goes. I think that's a great point. John, final question. You and I haven't spoke since free agency, and the Jaguars still are the only team in the NFL that has not re-signed any of their own free agents. They brought in 10 outside free agents. It's an overhaul of the roster, certainly. Are they better now than they were on January 6th as they report back to work this week?
Personally, I think so. I think the secondary is a good bit better just by adding 2 veterans alone. I think the offensive line has taken a 180 because, I've said this on your show and I've said in my own writing that the Jaguars didn't need to just find offensive line starters in free agency. They needed to find depth because they had terrible offensive line depth. They still need to even improve it some on the interior, but I think they got a lot better there. I think for what the scheme is going to be, I know people really boo-hooed moving on from Evan Ingram. They got emotionally attached to him. Evan's a great guy, a really good player, but for what the scheme is, I think the tight end room is better constructed now than it was when the season ended. And I think a wide receiver maybe got a partial downgrade from Christian Kirk to Diami Brown. Obviously, Kirk has had seasons Brown hasn't had before, but I think Brown's a better scheme fit. So I think even though Kirk's better, I think that's still not a complete and total downside. So I do think they got better. I know a lot of fans, might not think so, because I really believe a lot of that is emotionally linked to just, they've been Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. People have been buying their jerseys for years. They've seen them make big plays. People to accept that they weren't really fits moving forward. But I do think as a team overall, I do believe they got better.
Jaguars offseason program begins this week. The draft is in 2 weeks. OTAs begin next month as we start this whole wild thing over once again. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. John, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, you have content coming out left and right. It's really impressive what you have coming out on the website in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, you can find us at Jacksonville Jaguars on SI. We're going to keep pumping out draft content. When it gets closer, I'll put out, my final mock draft and a little notebook of stuff I've heard about the Jaguars, etc. And I'll have a big story coming out this summer as well. I'm not going to tell anybody exactly what it is yet, but just keep your eyes out around June or so.
He's one of the best. John Shipley, Jacksonville Jaguars on SI. John, appreciate the time, man. I'll see you down there at the offseason program in a matter of weeks.
Thank you, brother. I'll see you there.
Launch the downloads.
Join the 1010XL Podcast Network.
And initiate sequence.
Now you can find all your favorite 1010XL podcasts in your platform of choice.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Florida heat is no joke. Is your air conditioner ready for it? At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway for all your outdoor living needs. Let them show you how a durable paver driveway can enhance your home. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
You know the players, so you pick them.
How many majors can the guy win?
It's fantasy golf at the Masters. Win $1,000 of jewelry from Beard's Diamonds.
Enter at 1010XL.com.
Teed up by Pella Windows and Doors.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Leon Searcy here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com. ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging? Spring is here, a time to renew. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist here to help you look and feel your best with minimal to no downtime. Rejuvenate your skin, strengthen your core, and sculpt your body with advanced face and body treatments designed to restore your youthful glow and confidence. Just in time for spring and summer. A healthier, more fit you starts now. Visit dermagnify.com and step into spring looking and feeling your best.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 50% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
Denny Thompson here. You gotta check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 US Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a slip and slide gone wrong? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. With it till 10 o'clock, as we are every night. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, David Soderquist of High Top Sports. Those of you on social media have probably seen the High Top Sports podcast. Also, the High Top Sports reaction videos as they stream, watching the Florida games live. Denmark, have you seen those things from High Top on social media?
Oh, yeah, I see it on Twitter.
They are hilarious. Those guys are really good. We're going to start having some of those guys on, and David's going to join us tonight to kind of kick that off, and he's going to join us coming up here in less than 15 minutes or so to talk all things Florida Gators and the basketball national championship. Denmark, a day like today puts into perspective just how long 24 hours is, because it was earlier today, right around midnight or a little after, that you and Graham Marsh did the podcast celebrating Florida's national championship. Amazing that was technically today.
Yeah, we ended off at like 1 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, your reaction, man. I know you and Marsh both joined Baloo last night to preview the game. You had the podcast reacting to the game that's been viewed like thousands of times on social media. Your thoughts as a Gator alum on Florida bringing home a third basketball national title?
Me and Graham talked about this before the game started. This is one of the most fun times I've had being a fan of the Gators and just watching this team go on a run the way they did. There are very few things when your team goes on a run in the NCAA tournament that just make that a better fan experience, because you have two games every weekend, and even though your team is, if like you're one seed for Florida in this instance, that your team should win every game up until about the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight. You don't know what it's going to be like because your team can go cold and the other team can go hot, and then your season's over. Football, I mean, you have some games here and there, like when they beat Tennessee with Will Greer, they had the heave to cleave.
The heave to cleave? Is that what they call that? That's awesome.
You've never heard of that?
I mean, I obviously remember the play. I didn't know it was called the heave to cleave.
Yeah. And then, they beat Ole Miss last year. But this was like top 3 for me. And, I didn't live through the 90s, so I didn't see Spurrier's first one. And I didn't see Florida's first basketball title. But I've been watching for almost 20 years. And this run that they did and the way they did it, I don't know if that's going to ever happen again.
Well, you realize Florida, when you talk about the football title games and the basketball title games, they've played in 8 of them, and they're 6-2. They're 3-1 in football. They got boat raced by Nebraska, but they've won their last 3 against Florida State, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. And they're now 3-1 in basketball. They lost, again, their first one to Michigan State. But since then, they've beaten UCLA, Ohio State, and now Houston. That's pretty good. You get there 8 times, and you're 6-2. I agree. I think 08 football and 96 football, boy, it'd be hard to beat those 2 for me. But as far as basketball goes, like I said earlier, this run to me more memorable and maybe even more enjoyable than even that of Noah, Horford, Brewer, Green, and those guys because you kept having to come from behind. You kept having to squeak these things out, the nerves, the pacing back and forth, everything that goes with being a fan or a objective broadcast journalist. It had it all. The UConn game, the Texas Tech game, the Auburn game, and, of course, the Houston game. It had it all the emotions, where those back-to-back teams primarily were dominating their opponents for the most part. So, no, I agree. Basketball-wise, probably the best run that I can remember. I don't know if it's 08 football. I don't know if it's 96 football, but it would probably fall in there somewhere just after that. But again, Florida, your national champion. Again, blue blood, whatever you want to call it. There's 363 Division I college basketball men's programs. Florida is now in the top 10 for national championships. They're tied with Villanova for 8th with their 3rd title. They only trail Kentucky in the SEC for total titles. And we'll see what ultimately happens moving forward. But it was a heck of a lot of fun for the last couple of weeks. High Top Sports, David Soderquist joins us next. Again, if you haven't checked out the High Top Sports podcast, their reaction videos on social media, these guys are awesome. I really enjoyed talking with David earlier. We'll bring you that conversation next here on a Tuesday night on Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us as we roll on till 10 o'clock, celebrating a Florida Gator national championship right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Many years ago, the fine people of Jacksonville longed for a radio station they could call their own.
Listen up, everybody.
1010XL.
This is our new home.
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
It's a gift. That's what it is.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Charles.
6.
Oh, so close. Betty for the steal.
What about the bank that helps you reach your financial goals? Synovus.
Let's see, judges. Yes, looks like we have a winner.
That's a number?
Sorry, Charlie. Remember, a solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Talk with Synovus about your potential today. Brought to you by Synovus Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. The number was 4.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight? But it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, We can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Before the picks come in, 1010XL will be all over the draft with every angle and option. 1010XL's draft coverage is brought to you by First Coast Recyclers and Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. Roll through the offseason with AA Automotive.
This is Mike Lynch, PGA golf professional. Take it from me. If you're dealing with an orthopedic issue, talk to the doctors at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where you're treated like a pro.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros. Thanks to all of you who have allowed us to be part of your recovery. Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists if you ever have a need.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Getting a pool? David Garrard here. I just did. But before they dug, I called Clearwater Irrigation, and they capped off all my sprinkler lines so the pool company could just dig away.
Then when your pool's finished, we'll install your sprinkler system back to full coverage.
And now my backyard oasis is getting watered beautifully.
And maybe then, Dave, I could take another quick dip.
Bigger swimming trunks, John. Much bigger.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Visit sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Every morning that you wake up in a pest-free home is a good morning. And with Florida Pest Control's Pest-Free 365 Plus, you can. It's more than just a pest control or preventative maintenance plan. It's Florida Pest Control's promise that we'll be there providing pest-free living for your family all year long. To learn more about Pest-Free 365 Plus and to get your free quote, give us a call or visit flapest.com today and choose Pest-Free Living with Florida Pest Control.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Florida Gators, for the third time in program history, are college basketball national champions. What a run it was through the NCAA tournament. You could argue that 5 games were absolutely in doubt at halftime. 4 games were absolutely in doubt Heck, with 5 minutes to go, and Florida found a way to win them all as they are once again national champions. David Soderquist does a terrific job with his podcast. We'll tell you all about it. And David joins us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, how you doing?
Man, I'll tell you what, I've probably only had about 2 hours of sleep, and you feel like you would be tired and just out in the dumps and just not wanting to do anything today. I'm still pumped. I feel like I've had 12 hours of sleep. I'm that excited.
Well, your reaction videos are hilarious. High Top Sports is kind of your thing, your podcast. And for Gator fans that are on social media, they have obviously, most of them have obviously seen your videos and your reaction videos. And I got to tell you, man, I get a kick out of those so much. That's why I wanted you on. It is awesome to see those videos, particularly after these great basketball victories.
Yeah, that is so Shelton and Cody, they go live for a lot of these games. Sometimes I can't join them in on the stream, but man, yeah, the reactions and look, over here at High Top, we are ultimate Gator fanatics, and we are all about the Gators. And we will go live whether we lose or whether we win. But man, when we win and when it's sweet, man, you get to see the reactions. And yeah, just last night it was electric. I could imagine how Gainesville was last night. I've seen some of the videos floating around right now, and there's already one of a guy falling from a looks like a red light, and hopefully that guy is okay, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt. There was partying going on in Gainesville last night, no question about that. David, how do you put into words what this Gator basketball team did over the last 3 weeks? I mean, this NCAA tournament run, I said earlier, look, the back-to-backs were obviously unbelievable, and that's the standard. But there weren't a lot of nail-biters. There weren't a lot of nerves in those games. Of those 12 tournament wins over those 2 years, I think 9 or 10 of them were not in doubt with 10 minutes to go. I mean, Florida kind of ran roughshod over a lot of those teams. Yet, in the last 3 weeks, Florida could have legitimately lost 4 of these 6 games. And the fact that they won of all has just absolutely made this run a terrific success and a lasting memory for Gator Nation.
Yeah, and you have to tip your hat to Todd Golden and the job that he's done with that Florida basketball team. I mean, he took in a lot of great transfers that weren't highly rated in high school. You got to tip your hat to his coaching, his acumen, the culture he has in that locker room for, a lot of teams, especially like last night with the way that Houston Cougars defense was playing. And they've had the #1 defense the whole year. A lot of teams down by 12 like that, and they've been struggling, would be down and out. And this team, in every single game down the stretch in this tournament has seemingly came back, and they have fought and they've battled and they have won. And it's just amazing. I mean, you look at the schedule that they had to play just to get there. I mean, you had to play Tennessee just about 3 times. You had to play Auburn twice. You're playing a lot of top 10 teams in that schedule. Then you get to the tournament just to play that hard of a schedule and go through the teams that they had to go through, the defending a 2-time national champion, UConn, and that being a close game and just really being gritty towards the end really, really sealed this national championship for the Florida Gators. So you've got to tip your hat, especially to the players, obviously, but you really got to tip your hat to Todd Golden and the amazing job he has done with this Florida Gators basketball team.
David Soderquist, High Top Sports, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And to that point, one thing I don't think that I've talked about enough, and I know the narrative's not out there, you mentioned Todd Golden. Think about the coaches he beat in the last 48, 72 hours. A couple of Hall of Famers, right? Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson in both games were up in the air with 90 seconds to go, and yet Golden and his coaching staff were able to get over on these 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Again, that speaks volumes to the job that Todd Golden did.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, you kind of got to give Billy Donovan a little credit, helping with this coaching search and bringing Todd Golden's name out there. And as I said, like these kids, they weren't highly recruited in high school. Last night you saw a struggling Walter Clayton in the first half. Todd Golden makes a good second half adjustment. The Gators come out come out a little bit hot, but then they go down. They turn over the ball a lot, and they just held on. And look, that game could have went to anybody last night, and for Florida to be able to pull it off, and the way that they did with Condon struggling all night and just jumping on top of that basketball to seal the victory for the Florida Gators, it's got to be, just a good feeling for him. Obviously, he made some key plays in that game as well, but the first half, man, the Florida just did not look like the Florida team, and you gotta tip your hat to Kelvin Sampson and that Houston team. I mean, that defense is very smothering. Look what they did to Duke towards the end of the game. Everybody thought Duke was going to go to the national championship. That didn't happen. So you got to tip your hat to that coach as well. But yeah, I mean, you just play two Hall of Fame coaches in is year 3 now for Todd Golden, year 4, and he's done an amazing job. He's really turned it around.
Well, the fact that he did not have an NCAA tournament win 3 weeks ago, and now he's rattled off 6 in a row and is a national champion, is absolutely mind-boggling. And you mentioned Walter Clayton Jr., and look, we know the stat, right? Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Jerry West, the guys that have scored 30-plus in wins in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. He did not score a lot in the win over Houston, but he had the defensive play of the game with 5 seconds to go, which, again, just adds to the Walter Clayton legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the job that Walter Clayton has done and the things that he's done here at the University of Florida is kind of surreal in a way. I mean, you would have to put him, you have to have him in your top 5, top 3 players of all time, this Florida basketball team, Hacker?
Oh, I think there's an argument. Look, that's a good question. I think there's an argument he's number 1 because I think Noah, Horford, and Brewer, like if you did a vote, those guys would kind of eat each other as far as the votes go because there wasn't one that maybe separated. Those 3 are kind of linked together. I mean, you could go Mike Miller, Udonis Haslem, but again, Miller never won a title. Haslem never won a title. And you want to go back to like Vernon Maxwell and Neil Walk, but I think you look at Walter Clayton Jr., I think there's an argument at least that he's the best to ever do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at last night's game, and I hate to just say it's the Walter Clayton show because Will Richard really showed out. 18 points last night. Alex Condon, with his struggle, still got 12 points on this defense. But Walter Clayton, and usually I even said it, if Clayton just hit a couple more shots, Florida's winning this game probably by 8 or 10 points. But with him struggling like he did last night and be able to adjust and get more into the paint and just make the adjustments he did defensively and offensively is, like you said, the ending play where, I believe it was him that jumped to get the ball at spikes and then Condon lands on it. I mean, that is just, Walter Clayton can do everything, even when he's struggling. So you have to really, he has to be up there. He has to be, I guess you could put him up at number 1 just from the job that he's done. I mean, I call him Mr. Clutch. He's came in clutch for the Florida Gators in the last couple of games. But I also want to give a special shout out to Thomas Haw too in some of these games that were really down the stretch, and he really stepped up and made some plays there as well.
Final moments, David Soderquist, High Top Sports, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You mentioned Will Richard, and it was kind of fitting. The first recruit that Todd Golden really brought in. They got him out of Belmont. Todd Golden, right before his first year on the job. Richard has been here for 3 years with Golden, and they're not winning that game without Will Richard. In fact, they had 28 points in the first half. Will Richard had 14 of those 28. Right. Where would this team have been without Richard? I mean, he certainly deserves an unbelievable amount of credit. And we talk about defensive plays, David. Richard had the one defensive play with 30 seconds to go to knock the ball out of bounds that gave Florida the ball back.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling. I was watching with my friend Alan, and I said, look, those steals at the end from Will Richard and Alex Condon, I believe Florida does not win that game if we don't have that help there as well. So I mean, yeah, it's just there's so many things you can look at in that game that would contribute to Florida winning the basketball game. But I mean, just for Will Richard to have the game that he did, I mean, we're talking about 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 18 points. Just getting that key steal at the end of the game has just got to be a good moment just for him himself, especially, as you said, being the one of the first recruits from Todd Golden.
The thing is now the narrative is, and it's a fun narrative to have because, look, they won the national championship. Where does this put Florida as far as college basketball programs? Or are they a blue blood? And I don't know what verbiage you want to use, but what I do know, David, is this. There are 363 Division I basketball programs in America. Florida is now tied for 8th in national championships with 3, and they're second in the Southeastern Conference, only behind Kentucky. So call it a football school, call it whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is Florida probably is at this point a blue blood when it comes to college hoops.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to put them up there, especially after that victory last night. And just, I don't even. I'm at a loss for words, Hacker. Like I've been so excited all day today that I've just been. I haven't even been able to concentrate on anything else. But yeah, you have to put them up there as one of the blue bloods, especially after what they did last night. As I said, the schedule that they had to battle through. I mean, those were some hard teams Florida had to battle through. You know, they may have blew some of those teams out down the stretch, but just to be that impressive to blow those out and just crunch out these games towards the end, and when you were almost down and out, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to put them up there as one of the blue bloods. And look, this is going to be good for recruiting as well down the stretch. I mean, you know, you just won a national championship. I believe Florida Victorious raised $650,000 just in profit, not even really in profit, just in donations. A lot of people are the thing that people really want to see in NIL is they want to see wins. Once they see wins, then the donations and everything else comes. And for Todd Golden and this team to pull off what they did, it's going to be really good for Florida's NIL too.
Well, and not only that, yeah, I agree with you, but Golden's the youngest coach to win a title since Jim Valvano back in '83, which is wild. And Florida now is the only college in America that has 3 football championships and at least 3 basketball championships. You want to talk about puffing your chest out if you're a member of Gator Nation. I mean, good grief, what a day. And look, you know, the way too early top 25. I told a guy on a podcast this morning, I told my buddy Graham, I don't care, you know, what that looks like for the next month or so. I'm going to bask in the glow of what was one of the most memorable college basketball runs that we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it's real funny, Hacker, when you talk about that, because I've been on social media a little bit. You know, I'm pretty active there on X, and I've seen some Gator fans talking about that. And I'm like, why are you guys worried about that right now? I'm too busy celebrating a natty right now to even care for it. But yeah, man, as I said, this is something Gator Nation needed. It puts a lot more eyes on the program. As I said, it's good for Florida Victorious. It's good for everybody. I mean, everybody loves a winner, right? I wasn't a big basketball guy before this year. And thankfully, my buddy Alan, who works over at Florida Victorious, said, hey, you got to come to a basketball game with me. And I went to the Arizona State basketball game with him. And ever since then, I've been watching every single game. And I think, you know, somebody made the joke, David never watches basketball. He should start watching basketball more often. So I guess maybe I was the lucky charm, this year for the Florida Gators.
All right, David, tell us about High Top Sports, where people can view it, what they can expect. And also, you guys have a pretty cool event coming up this Saturday for the spring game in Gainesville.
Yeah, you can follow me at High Top Dave on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can also follow at High Top Sport on Twitter as well. That's their main page for our show and podcast. And yeah, this weekend we have a tailgate coming up at the O-Dome in Lot 25. You folks, make sure you wear your national championship shirts when you come down there, because we'll be doing some giveaways and some other things down there as well.
David, congratulations on the success of High Top Sports. Again, those reaction videos have been absolutely priceless. Appreciate you joining me tonight, man. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, Hacker. Appreciate it, man.
And thank you to David Soderquist of High Top Sports for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As, boy, what a 24 hours it has been for the Florida Gators and the fan base of the Gator Nation. Florida, for the 3rd time in the history of the program, is a college basketball national champion. They defeat Houston last night. And as I was talking about with David, look, the championships of 05, 06, 06, 07 were unbelievable. They were awesome. Primarily 05, 06. 06, 07, it was almost national championship or bust. So, I mean, it was enjoyable, but you had to worry about anything short of a national title would have been considered a disappointment. 05-06 was fun, but remember, even in those games, in that tourney run, there weren't a lot of nail-biters. The Georgetown game was a nail-biter, but by and large, Florida controlled a lot of those games. Not so much in this championship. I mean, you think about it. Losing to UConn with under 4 minutes to go. Only 2 up on Maryland at halftime, and Florida played awful in the first half of that Sweet 16 game. You're down 9 to Texas Tech with 3 minutes to go. You're down 8 to Auburn at halftime. Last night you were down 12 to Houston with 15 minutes to go. And the fact that in 4 of these games you have come back from second half deficits to win, and now you're a national champion, makes it even that much sweeter. Boy, Walter Clayton was the Final Four most valuable player. He was fantastic. Will Richard did an absolutely phenomenal job last night. As we talked about, Todd Golden is the youngest head coach to win a national championship going back 40-plus years, back to Jim Valvano back in 1983. There was so much good that happened in this run. It was so enjoyable, so memorable. And as I've told you for a long time, Gator fans, I hope you savored. I hope you enjoyed every minute of it. This will be a team you're talking about for decades to come. Just like we talk about 1994 and 2000 and 06, 07. Now you'll be talking about this team in 2040 and 2045 and 2050. So I hope you enjoyed every single bit of it. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy evening here on Hacker After Dark. Very busy day, too. Certainly hope you enjoyed hanging out with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Day started for me back doing Gator Bites with Graham Marsh. You can check that out on 1010XL social media platforms. I then was in with Frangie. I'll be in with Frank the rest of the week on the Frangie Show from 4 to 6. And, of course, back here on Hacker After Dark. So I certainly appreciate you guys hanging with me tonight, going on about 3 hours of sleep, as I'm sure a lot of us are, who stayed up for the game and, of course, the post-game festivities. A lot of people to thank for tonight's broadcast. Again, David Soderquist of High Top Sports. Thank you to my buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. Oh, by the way, the Jacksonville Jaguars reported in today for off-season workouts. So they're back in the fold. NFL draft is just over 2 weeks away, so a lot to get into in the coming days and weeks when it gets back into the Jacksonville Jaguars. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark has been with us basically every week over the last 2 months or so, and we certainly appreciate Mark taking time out for us once again here on Hacker After Dark. Now, we will be back tomorrow night, and we will do it all over again, not only from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, but like I said, I'll also be on with Frank on the Frangie Show from 4 to 6, and I certainly hope that you join me then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green, and again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening, and I will talk to you again both at 4 o'clock on the Frangie Show and at 8 o'clock tomorrow night right here on Hacker After Dark. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Where winning begins.
Gentlemen, if you keep playing like this, I promise you, you will leave this field winners. Get in here!
1010XL.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love